Hello, I'm Pastor Garth Forster, First Baptist Church of Barnesville. Here with me today is our longtime minister of music and worship, Greg Burrell. Been with us 36 years.
Yes, sir.
36 years. And also a father of three, now
Yes,
grandfather.
Yes, sir.
He knows a little bit about fathering, and of course it's Father's Day yesterday at First Baptist as we take a look at our sermon summary from Father's Day.
Wonderful.
As we do so, of course, we'll talk about some of the aspects of fathers, one of them being leadership, that father demonstrates his strength in the family through his leadership. And I know that's a controversial subject, Greg. People sometimes disagree with that. More often of the female persuasion disagree with that. Don't really like Paul's writings there, what he says about the husband is the head of the home as Christ is the head of the church. But God has a reason for saying what he says, and we all know that his way works best. Typically, we have to try our way first and fail at that, and then we try God's way and find that it was right all along. But, I know we are very blessed men to have good wives, wives that love us, wives that take care of us. But, a lot of times that word submission gets one-sided. And obviously there are times where men cause that problem because they don't understand the word either. For our wives to submit to us does not mean that they're second class or second rate. It does not mean that they are less than we are, less valued than we are, certainly. Obviously, in a lot of ways, we would confess that our wives should be higher valued than we should. But, it's a word that really, in its full context, refers to being an encouraging person to her husband. It means that she believes in him. She supports him. She's someone who really helps him become the best he can be. And I know that you've experienced that in your own life as well.
Amen. And I know that you want me to contribute a little bit more than the amen.
Be the right time.
I'll call now, Pastor, and you can tell us which book this is. Is it maybe Colossians, where, maybe not, where Paul says, submit to one another? It's not just in that one book.
It's in Ephesians.
It's in Ephesians, okay. We support each other. We defer to each other. There are times when, in the end, somebody's got to make a decision.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to make the call. And as Franklin Graham says, I believe everything that's in that Bible. I may not understand it, but I believe it.
Sure.
So a lot of times we submit to the Word of God, whether that's something that we understand or not.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think is very important in that concept is the idea that we also have things that we're best at. Men have certain things they're very good at. Women have certain things that they're very good at. For a man to think that his wife submitting to him means that he makes all the decisions, including the color of the curtains, that's going to end up badly.
Especially the color of the curtains.
There you go. I mean, you've got to give. You've got this equality thing going on in your home. You just understand that each of you is better at one thing or another, and that being the case, the love that you have for one another will tell you the leadership that you need to have in your family.
Absolutely.
But leadership is important. As Greg said, at some point, somebody's got to make a decision. It's one of the things I always say in premarital counseling. There's going to come a day when you can't decide. The two of you are worlds apart in terms of what to do, and somebody's got to make that decision. So I always tell them, if you've got more time, by all means, wait.
Yes.
But if the decision has to be made today, well, somebody's got to make the decision.
Yeah.
And God places that responsibility in the husband's hands, but He also has a very unique job of making that decision. Hopefully, He will make the right decision. We don't always make the right decision. A little $46,000 piece of property that was not the right decision. But anyway, bottom line, we don't always make the right decision. But the one thing is, my wife Suzanne, has never reminded me of that $46,000 mistake. Okay?
That's pretty good.
And whenever I bring it up, my wife says, well, we're getting some tax money off of that. We've got a capital loss on that, quite a bit of money, and we take that off our taxes every year. So she's even very kind in that regard. So leadership.
I think, and guys, put this one in the bank. If you come to a place where someone has to make a decision and you make the decision, there's some words that you should remember. Gentleness, humility, love, respect. There's nothing more annoying than a husband who takes the scriptural authority that God gives him and lords it over the other people in his household. Don't do that.
Yeah. It's a total misunderstanding.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We talk about labor. Greg, I know your dad was white collar.
It's true.
My dad was blue collar. And but both of our fathers taught us about work. I ended up starting to work when I was mowing people's grass, needed some spending money, and I'd reached the age where allowances really didn't need to be given anymore. It was up to me to make a little money.
Yeah.
And my dad, he let me know that. And so, but he had a strong work ethic, and he taught us to have a strong work ethic as well. And it's such an important thing for kids to see that in their parents, because for most of us, we weren't the landed gentry. We weren't born with money, not a silver spoon in our mouths. And that being the case, we're probably not going to be able to laze around for the rest of our lives and still have any standard of living at all. So labor is something that a father needs to lead his family in.
Yeah.
Talked about loyalty yesterday, and what an important idea that is. Loyalty from the perspective, obviously, first and foremost, that loyalty's got to be to God. And then second, just a little bit down below that loyalty's got to be to his wife. Faithfulness, marriage faithfulness. The fact that you say no to temptation and that you're faithful to your spouse. And then that faithfulness to children. And then that whole level of faithfulness. We talk about that oftentimes, Greg, from the perspective of what ranks first in our life. God ought to rank first. Our wife ought to rank second. Our children ought to rank third. Our job ought to rank fourth. Our hobbies ought to rank fifth, or maybe sixth or seventh, somewhere down there. The idea, depending on whether you're hunting and hunting's good or not. But anyway, the idea is that what we're faithful to ought to make that same list and ought to work that same way.
Absolutely. Our priorities in life, God, I think any day that we're listening to what he has to say to us, he's talking to us about the priorities in our life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we talk about love, of course. That was an easy one to throw in there. It was obviously one that's needed. Love, I've said before, is the accurate estimate, the adequate supply of another person's needs. Love is sacrificial by nature. Love, when I'm doing premarital counseling, I talk to the young couple about the fact that if you're not giving in your marriage what seems like 100%, and you're thinking your spouse ain't giving nearly as much as you are, if you're not giving that much, your marriage is probably not going to last. But each of you, both of you, has to give that much.
Yeah.
You have to, and there's a word for that. It's called sacrifice.
Yeah.
And we have to be willing to sacrifice in order to have a good marriage. We have to be willing to give to the other person. And we need to check that on ourselves every once in a while. Sometimes we get selfish, and we need to check that on ourselves every once in a while and make sure that the need to sacrifice to keep that relationship what it ought to be, that we're not becoming grumpy over that.
Yeah.
We're not complaining about that. We understand that this is what it takes to make a marriage work.
Yeah. 50-50, the 50 thing. 50-50 might keep you out of divorce court, but it's not going to give you a good marriage.
Yeah.
Most people say it's really 100 and 100. Everyone needs to be giving as much as they can, and sacrificing for each other. And that is what keeps a marriage happy and working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The last word we talked about was the word legacy, that we leave a legacy. When we talk about grandparents, their whole message was about legacy, a family legacy that they leave. But a father, of course, has a legacy as well, not only in the children that are born into your life, but also, of course, in the way that you treat them, the things that you teach them, the lessons they learn from your life. And obviously, they don't learn just what we say. They learn how we live as well. And that can be a sobering experience, real sobering experience, because we come to understand that they are listening to us when we don't think they're listening to us. They're watching us when we don't think they're watching us. And those kinds of things can really, as they should, they can really sober us and make us realize I've got to be playing. I've got to be at my best all the time. I've got to be living the Christian life all the time. I can't put it off when I get angry. I can't put it off when I get selfish. I've got to be living this thing the whole time. And that's how we birth a legacy in our children. I have parents, talk to me about the idea, well, my children are not following what I taught them. You did your best. Don't beat up on yourself. You did your best. You taught your children the right way. You showed them the way of the Lord. And if they don't go that way, maybe they're not going that way now, but they're going to go that way later. It's amazing how time and maturity and some tough knocks change people.
Yeah.
And they suddenly begin to see things more eye to eye. I'll never forget saying to my dad back when I was about 22 years old, I said, "Dad, it's amazing the things you've learned in the last few years." He knew them all along, but I thought who changed? Who learned things? I did.
Yeah.
I did. And so your children oftentimes will come back home. And by home, I mean spiritually. Don't worry about
Yeah, you don't want them in your basement, but come home spiritually.
They will come back home spiritually in time. That's what we pray for. That's what we ask God to do.
And never stop that prayer process. A lot of people, like when their children don't turn out the way that they felt like they should, they kind of give up. No. The Lord would say, you just keep praying. Keep praying. Never stop praying. And one thing that I think helps, Pastor, by the way, in trying to get your children to pick up on your spiritual legacy, you need to be enthusiastic about your love for the Lord, your love for the Scriptures, because kids tend to pick up on what you're enthusiastic about. And if we're enthusiastic about our walk with the Lord, which means our private walk with the Lord has got to be good. But if you're enthusiastic about that, your kids tend to pick up on that. And if you're enthusiastic about something else, well, your kids may pick up on that, but not pick up on your relationship with the Lord. So cogitate on that one a little bit, and about how much love and passion you have for your relationship with God.
Absolutely. It's kind of the difference that we've used before, how people react at a football game and how they react at church.
Yes.
In a football game, they're jumping up and down and falling all over their neighbor and everything else. But at church, of course, they're sitting there singing and thinking sweet hour of prayer. So, it's we've got to be we've got to be consistent. We've got to be the kind of folks that have a deep, heartfelt love for the Lord and a deep, heartfelt love for our families. That's what this family emphasis has been all about.
Amen.
Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Of course, sir.
Thank you. God bless you, folks. Thank you for gathering together with us.